Hello and welcome back! Now last tutorial I showed you how to get Miyamoto up and running, but today we're going to go into the level making process. So go to your Miyamoto folder and go ahead and run it. Last tutorial I showed you how to set everything up and what each button does, but now we can go ahead into level editing itself. So let's go ahead, go to whatever level we desire. Okay. Now, yeah, this is something I was playing around with earlier, but let's not worry about that. So, in order to create a level, I recommend doing the level you wish to replace. Like, for example, let's just say I wanted to replace 2-1. Now that we have 2-1 open, let's go ahead and create a new level. So, now we're going to select all and just hit backspace. Now this is pretty useful because now we pretty much have our own blank sheet to play around with, and we have the tile sets we need too, but we may want a third or a fourth one here, and don't worry, we can always get to that later. So first thing we're going to need is to paint like an area to start. Obviously. Now a typical starting area starts off like this. But for the sake of this tutorial, let's just say we don't want to use this desert tile set. Now last tutorial, I showed you how you can import and export tile sets, but let's just do that. But what if I don't want to leave this level? Well, I can just open another editor window and go to 1-1. Now we can go to tile sets and we can export the ones we want. Once again, this may take a while. And there we go. Now let's get the other tile set. Nope, we don't want import. Just checking some levels that someone made. But once again, this can take a while. And there we go. So once we got that out of the way, you can just close out of that window and go back to here. Now we're going to edit the slot 2 tile set. Now let's import the tile sets from earlier, starting with tile set number 1. Which once again takes a while. And there we go. Now for PA, the second slot tile set, we have that tile set. But we also want the other one, so we can just go ahead and create it. Once again, following the naming rules, PA0 slot number -1, so 3 minus 1 equals 2, underscore, that level we're editing, 2-1. Now, I mean, like, not the level name, but like the level ID, as in like world number and level ID. You should remember that from last video. And then the area number, we're in area 1, so there we go. Import tile set from file. Now you can just hit save and quit. And once that's done, we have all the tile sets we need to get started. Now, since we don't want to save over the original, we're just going to save our new level in a safe location. I'm just going to call it 2-1.sarc. 2-1, once again, world name, followed by level ID. World ID, then level ID, not name, sorry. And then here we go. Now, like earlier, you can just start off by doing this. Doesn't really matter that we touch up this area over here, since you won't see it. Sometimes it can take a little while to find the tile set or tile you need to use, but that's okay. There we go. We essentially just created a starting platform. Now, let's go ahead and create some blocks that Mario can hear. Now, in order to do that, you just search brick block. Then I can place that wherever I want. Make sure you set the content to something. The usual is like 1 coin for those brick blocks, but you can essentially put it to anything you need. You can also search for a mystery block. Can always move that thing, slide around if you need it. Then let's just say I want the player to get a fire flower. Just the original fire flower. And since we're in an SArc, if you just go ahead and save it, it won't take for a while. But if you're using an SES file, then it may take a little while. Now, if you were to load this level in game, it would not work. It would just crash the game or freeze the loading screen. And the reason is, once again, you need to have entrance 0. And I just like checking enterable. I don't know whether or not it matters, but I'm pretty sure you can just leave it like that. -1. Now, these will tell you what those paths are for, but we just essentially just create the most boring level ever. We have a platform, but it's not nearly done at all. So let's try and make it a little more interesting. Let's try and add a Goomba here. Just nothing fancy, just a plain old Goomba. These windows may get in the way sometimes. You can just move them out of the way though. And we can have Koopa Paratroopa just floating over here. We're going to have it go up and down. What we're going to have here is have a Koopa Paratroopa fly up and down. So we'll have it start at the halfway point and it'll go fly vertically. You can also make it red, but let's just keep it like this. And let's go ahead and add some more tiles, which can be accomplished by just obviously just placing tiles. There we go. Now we have a somewhat decent opening for a level, but something's missing. And what is missing are coins. So, go ahead and place some coins. Okay, now one thing that's bugging me is this platform is a little too high. However, I don't want to adjust the position of the Koopa Troopa. I don't want to select it. If you remember from earlier, I can just go ahead and freeze the sprites, and it'll just ignore the Koopa Troopa. The bad news is it'll also ignore those coins. And I guess I changed my mind about moving. More like it needs to move back, if anything. Let's not have the... I want the Koopa Troopa, but the coins don't really look good here. And yes, we can have something like this. I guess that works. Although it's not the best thing to have, and I'm not really happy with it. Let's just ignore the Koopa Troopa idea and just have something like this for now. And once again, we can go back to the coins and move it out of the way if it's needed. There we go. Now we have some somewhat good coin placement. Not the best, but it works for now. We can always go back and change things later, but this area here looks kind of bland. So let's go ahead and add some decorations. Now decorations like bushes and stuff can actually just be added on layer 1. Try not to overdo things too much. Try to keep it simple most of the time. Nothing too fancy, nothing that really pops out. Like, the trick is to have a little, but not a lot. And just overall, Just try and do things that look pleasing to the eye. We can always go back and add decorations later. Now let's modify this platform a little. I want to make it curve downwards, but in this game we don't exactly have curved pieces, so instead we use things called slopes. If you used Mario Maker before, then you may be unfamiliar with slopes, because they did not really exist. Don't worry, they're not the hardest thing to use. And we may want something like this on the bottom here. That looks pretty good. It's nice and curvy. And overall seems to fit everything. Let's just say we have a Koopa Troopa that's just jumping around, because it sounds like something that'll look good there. But the trick is for levels to have a common theme. Like, for example, this level's okay, but we haven't exactly decided what we want to do with the level. And so, let's just save it and look at an example. Let me open a level I made earlier. Okay, now let's see what exactly is going on right here. Like usual, that is the entrance. And that is a location ID. Now there's a lot going on and a lot of things that are confusing about this level right here. But let's exactly break it down. So right here we have the main entrance, we have the main starting point, some decorations, the usual Goomba, Koopa. We have like some coins leading up to a platform. Now this right here is a moving sprite. Now how this works right here is the width of the sprite and the height of the sprite are controlled here. But this movement controller controls how it moves. And for this example, it's a two-way controller. What two-way controllers do, they can move sprites in two directions. For example, this is set to up. And so this controller will go up and then it'll go down. Up, down, up, down. And if it were to go down, it would go down, up, up. And it right, left, or left, right. You get the idea. Now the speed is how fast it moves. And the distance is how many blocks this moves. And this movement ID is the movement ID of the controller. So this is movement ID 0. And you have to hook the movement IDs, and they must be the same for them to work properly. So I set this to move up 7 blocks, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so this will go up 7 blocks, and then this will go down. Up, down, up, down. Now, it's probably not the best choice to make it go 7 blocks. And I think it'd be better if it went 4. Now, that also means I have to move this flower down. Now, let me just show you that these flowers are kind of weird. And it's not exactly really known how these things work with moving controllers. But these grass/flower sprite are usually used for decorations that move along with moving platforms. And I think you're supposed to set them, like the distance it's supposed to move up above the platform, but I'm not sure. Now these things right here are Monty moles, and the location ID set for this is 1. And the description here is the Monty mole jumps out of the hill when the player is in this location. So if we see location 1, if the player enters this location, the Monty mole will pop out. And same over here. Now this thing here is similar. It's just that it moves in a different way. And once again, the movement controller is linked to that. And it'll say the distance and everything. Now, these things, you may have noticed, are a little different. How this is supposed to work is when the star coin gets touched, this is supposed to activate, and then they're supposed to appear there. However, I'm not completely sure whether or not this would work in game, and I haven't tested it yet, so I'm not going to give you advice on things that may lead you in the wrong direction. But usually the key word here is testing. Test your levels, make sure what you want is correct. And another thing is similar here is this is testing if the player is in the location. And if it does, this sprite also makes clapping noises, which is interesting. And like the other one, it's supposed to swing coins down. Although I have no idea whether or not it would work. So I'm not going to give you advice on that. Once again, I have another of those set up. And I also made that way too small. These should be up more. See? The location's getting in the way. So we just... Then once again, we have a Koopa Paratroopa. Okay, so let's just say we want to add one of these fancy Monty Mole platforms. So, for this example, I'm just going to create a randomly sloped hill right here. And this tile set does not have many slopes, which it can be a little problem in doing what I want here. But I'll try and do the best I can do. In making a different kind of platform. It's unfortunate that I can't do what I want, but sometimes it has to be like that. Now I could change the tile set, but I would also have to redo all the tiling, since it would mess things up. It's good to have blocks below the zone go like 2 blocks below. That's usually the general rule. And let's make it so a Monty Mole will pop out whenever the person is around here. So in order to do that, we need to look at this and say, this uses location ID 5, so that means we cannot use location ID 5 or any other of the location IDs. And that's location ID 6. So that means we're going to hook up this Monty Mole with location ID 7. So let's go ahead, put in a Monty Mole, and we're going to put in the ID 7. Those can usually be ignored unless you know what you're doing. And let's paint a new area here. Snap it to grid to make it aligned correctly. And there, we have painted a new location ID. So whenever Mario is in this location, the Monty Mole will pop out. Maybe we want it to have a little more inclusive. Make it more like that. But the concept still stands. A Monty Mole will appear whenever Mario is in this location. It'll just pop out of the ground like it should. Now let's set up one of these controllers. So in order to do that, we're going to get something that moves. Now there's a lot of different things like moving lava blocks and then how they work and whatever, but we're just going to go with, nope, that's not the one. This is the one. There we go. We have a block. Let's make it block around this high and this tall. And we want it to start out up here, I guess. And it's going to go down. So we're going to get a movement controller. Two-way. We want this to go down, then up. So we're going to have it go down. I think we should have it go 3 or 4 blocks here. So let's go with 4. And have it go a speed of 2. And let's hook it up to movement ID 8. Why I'm saying it to 8 is because I do not know what the other movement ID... No, that's a bad way of doing it. That's movement ID 5. So that way we use 6. The next one up. And I recommend you keep a similar method and try not to mix stuff up. So once you have movement ID set, this is the movement delay before the second run starts. And I'll just set to something like 3. Return delay, I'll set to something like 5. So that freezes here for a little bit and goes back up. Stops there for a little. It goes back down. Whoops. Accidentally messed it up. Don't worry. You just place it right back. 1-5. This is a little short of the level, but let's just say we want to end it. So we can just take this right here. We mess it up, we can just expand it. you can just zoom out and move this zone. And normally you would move the zone to be like over here or something where the end of the level is, but I'm not going to do that because, well, obviously I'll probably make the level a lot bigger than this, but you can just do like goal pull. And there we go. Then you can just add things like coins. Coin placement can be a little hard sometimes. Wait a second, this moves up 4 blocks, so that means it'll end up going up around here, so not real any point to have them so far up. There we go. Can have something like that. There, we have an ending of some sort. Obviously, you wouldn't put the goal flag so close or whatever, but just for the sake of this tutorial, I will. It looks like the goal pole is floating a little. There we go. Now let's see how to set up midway flags. Now, over here is a terrible, terrible place to put a midway flag, but let me just show you how to do it. First, you place the checkpoint flag sprite wherever you want to put it. Now, the entrance ID, this is pretty important, and you would set it to 3, or whatever the entrance is. Like, we have no other entrances, so let's just go with 1. Now, this entrance right here, like the entrance 0, the entrance ID associated this is where Mario will spawn after he touches the halfway point and dies. So you can put it if the midway flag is not touched or already touched. And something happened to my Skype call. Oh well. Okay, now let's just teach you how to set up pipes. So, pipes are kind of strange and are different from Reggie. Like, for example, terrible place to put once again, but let's just say we want pipe here. First thing you need to do is place this where you want the pipe. You need to place one of these if you're at it sideways, and these are pipe joints. They pretty much work like, just like that. They go under where you want the pipe. So let's just put a pipe up. Sometimes you may want to do this, but usually you can just get away with this. Normal. There's also painted pipes for the painted world, or just big pipes. You can change the color, etc. You can also put pipe piranha if you want in it. And why not have a pipe piranha in it? And it's also possible to have a pipe enterable. But now here's the thing. In order to make a pipe enterable, you must have the pipe facing up, and you must click enterable. If you don't click enterable, Mario will not be able to enter it. Now this stuff here is important. This is where the pipe goes to, and this is where the area. So we're in area 1, and I want to make a pipe over there. So we're in area 1, and there's only one area, so area 1. And let's just set the destination ID for the next ID, det3. So that means the next pipe must have ID 3. So let's create another pipe here. Let's have something come down like this. And for sprites, you just once again do the pipe up, put it over. Then you get a pipe joint. Then you get the pipe, whatever. And there we go. We just set up a pipe. But it's not just done yet. We need to now make it an actual pipe. So this is ID 3 and pipe facing right. And so now Mario, if he goes in that pipe, he will appear through this pipe as if by magic. Sort of. And let's just go ahead and paint like a random like scene here. Maybe some sort of platform. Now obviously I'm just doing this for example, and usually you wouldn't want to do something like this. Let's just have a roulette block here. But let's say you don't want Mario to enter through this pipe again. Let's say rather than have him enter this pipe, you want him to go through another. So once again, we want to make the pipe look however we want it to look like. We can just do that, and move it wherever we want. Now, we want this pipe to, let's just say we want this pipe right here to lead back to this. So in order to do that, that's entrance ID 2. So we just set the destination ID to 2. It's that easy. And since it's checked marked as enterable, Mario will be able to go through the pipe. And Mario will not be able to go through this pipe because it's checked marked area. And no need to fix those because there's no point. Now I might as well give him this opportunity to explain star coins. Now star coins, there's 3 per level, always, and and so you control the first one, the second, or the third. Let's just say this is the first, and yeah, you get up. Now let's just say this coin falls from a POW block. Except there's no values for it yet, so I'll just put it above here. Now obviously you wouldn't want to make a level like this, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'll just put it up there for now and have it be the first star coin. And there we go. That's how you can create a level. Now, we haven't learned too much, but now you can basically get into the habit of how to make levels. You saw us. Today we learned how to place goal poles. You can make them secret exits, snow castles, and you can just have all these combinations. But pretty much, it's important, remember to place coins, remember to use enemies, not too much, but just enough. Remember to use decorations, and remember to take full advantage of the tile set you're using. And also, don't mix and match tile sets that don't go. That's a big no-no. Like, you would never ever have a desert and a tile set like this at the same time. And I wouldn't just put a random pink block in the level. That's not something you would do. But that's it for today. I'll see you later. And, well, one last thing. When you're done and want to test it on the Wii U, just export the level. Let's just call it tut.scs. And there we go. Saving an SCS file may take a while, but once it's done, rename it to the file 1-5 since we're replacing 1-5, and you could play it on the Wii U. And if it crashes, then that means there's something wrong with your level. But if all goes well, then congrats, you've made your first custom level.